Hey guys, CreamCrazy here, welcoming you to my WrestleMania 30 review. It's not a live reaction, it's not a results video, this is a review. It's been over 2 months that I've waited for this DVD to come through my letterbox, and happily it comes into my letterbox right as I return home for the summer. So, well, good things are going to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, you saw it though at the beginning of this video here. It's going to happen. 22nd of June, the big announcement is here. And I want to tell you all right now, but unfortunately I cannot, so you're going to have to wait. But ladies and gentlemen, I have to judge critically where this WrestleMania, the one that I went to in person, ranks. And, you know, I've got to get rid of all the bias I had from being there in person and just look at it from a TV perspective. And honestly, I got to tell you, it really holds up. First off, Daniel Bryan versus Triple H. Psychology was a 5. Flat out of 5. Triple H worked that arm throughout the entire match with a maximum variety of moves. You had Stephanie berating Daniel throughout the match. You had Daniel selling the arm quite well, minus a few headlock takedowns in the beginning, but if you count that on with adrenaline, it works out so well. But the great thing is it all plays into the story that Bryan is smaller than Triple H and that he has to win. That he has to win to achieve it all. And that overbearing feeling throughout this match that Daniel Bryan is weaker than Triple H, and Triple H putting on hard-hitting moves to stop him. The false finishes giving out hope to the crowd. It created that real intense drama that I honestly haven't seen in many matches since, well, many pay-per-views ago in the early 2000s, maybe some in the 90s. The drama just felt so real and there that it was just an absolutely incredible thing. And because Daniel Bryan was continuously running on crowd juice and whatever else he had going through him in adrenaline terms, it made his comebacks and momentum shifts throughout the match really feel genuine. And overall, the result was amazing. But it was capped off even better by the finish. You guys saw Stephanie slapping the crap out of Daniel and then having Triple H beat the crap out of him afterwards. It gave the impression that, yeah, later on, he's not going to make it to that damn championship match. He probably will, but it overall created the intense idea that, yeah, Daniel Bryan won the battle, but he didn't win the war yet. And it was dramatic, it was intense, it had body selling everywhere, and it just told a brilliant story. You know, watching it live was incredible. Watching it back on TV with the commentators slamming in extra, hyping up both men in their respective roles and watching it play out in the way that it should, it really fit the bill. And I can't go wrong with it. Move variety, a 3. Now I would have given this more, probably because, well, this was typically a Daniel Bryan Triple H match. You saw, of course, the huge amount of moves that they always do, and they do it all the time. Honestly, though, there were some moves here that just made me jump out of my seat, live and on TV, and just think, holy crap! I mean, I've already mentioned Triple H worked the arm, but it's the way he worked it. Hitting it on the ropes, doing an armbar, and hitting it on the table, a crossface chicken wing, 2 crossfaces, and then a knee off the headbutt. And obviously, the creme de la creme of this, a tiger suplex. A tiger suplex. Live, I marked the fuck out. When I'm sitting here watching this on TV, holy crap, I still got shocked by it. I couldn't believe that Triple H did a damn tiger suplex. And, you know, that gave it pretty much an entire point on that front. You then look at what Daniel Bryan ended up doing, which is even more incredible. You've got the apron DDT, 3 German suplexes, and a sunset flip powerbomb. I mean, I technically could give a 3.5 on that one for this. But overall, it was not just a normal Triple H Daniel Bryan situation. It felt like it. But with these extra big moves added, it made the match feel huge. It made the match feel big. And again, it made it seem even more desperate that these two, in a storyline perspective, were trying to put each other away. That they were doing everything, pulling out every single stop imaginable to ensure that it was done. And that's why the psychology played so well into itself. It was amazing on that front. But the move variety could have done with more, maybe some more violent spots. But then again, this was a very physical in-ring contest that showed itself. Crowd reaction, 5. I don't even need to say it. acted in the way that a Benoit-Kurt Angle match was acted in at WrestleMania XXX, where they gave Daniel Bryan and Triple H some breathing room. The story was telling itself. They were mesmerized. And sure, they popped huge when Bryan got the win, when Bryan got any offense, when Bryan entered the bloody ring, and they booed hard when Stephanie tried to do something, or when Triple H just was doing any form of action. But when it came to the rest holds, they were silent in admiration for wondering what was going to happen. They were the perfect feeling that a crowd should be for a match of this magnitude. They gave it room to breathe, but they were intently watching and absorbing the story in. And that's what made it so fun. Match length and pacing, a 5. This match was paced to hell and back. This was fantastically done. It started off reasonably slow as both were trying to gauge each other. It then sped up furiously as they were trying to go bells and whistles at each other, followed up by a down period when both were physically exhausted, and then the final adrenaline rush. The final adrenaline rush going forward made the ending superb to watch. And it was actually the longest match of the night, only by about 40 seconds, around 25 minutes and 57 seconds. This was given a huge amount of time. It was given the right pacing to make the story reflect itself. And again, I have to keep going back to how good the story was told, because it all plays in. Every single element plays in. And you know what? My enjoyment of this was a 5. It was fantastic to watch live, and I did say, up there with the Zack Sabre Jr. Marty Scurll match from the first Progress show, this is up there one of the best matches I have ever seen live. And you know what? I'm sticking with that. This match, looking back on television, was amazing to watch. Mark Pearson said at the time in his reaction, without looking back on the show, that he would give this match a straight 5-star. You know what? I'm in the same boat looking back on it. This match is hands down one of the best WrestleMania matches, one of the best opening WrestleMania matches that I have ever seen. And you know what? It's getting a straight 5-star from me. This is match of the year for me, hands down at the moment. It's actually the only match so far this year that's gotten a 5-star. So you can't go wrong with that now, can you? Next, after that amazing 5-star, we get a pretty short match with the Shield versus the New Age Outlaws and Kane. Now, the psychology only got a 1.5 here, mostly because, okay, it started off furious and aggressive by the Shield. They wanted to beat the crap out of these guys, and, well, they did. So, it was a fast, effective match that showed the Shield's dominance. They dominated the crap out of this, and it played into the fact of how desperately they wanted to beat the crap out of these guys. And you can't go wrong with it. Not at all. Move variety was a 1. Nothing here that I haven't seen before. Overall, just there. Crowd reaction was a 1.5, and I'm going to have to link this in to the match length and pacing, because the crowd were kind of hot for it, but only when the Shield were really on offense. They didn't really seem to care about the New Age Outlaws and Kane, and it really showed. But the match length and pacing is a 2. Now, like I said, the Shield dominated, giving this match a really quick squash match feel. And it did feel like that. The old generation were being hounded out, see the pun I did there, from the Hounds of Justice, the Shield. They got completely flattened. The match was quick, it didn't slow down at all pretty much, allowing for an actual good pace of a squash match to come forward. But the length is where it's a problem, I would have liked to have seen in a longer scenario, New Age Outlaws and Kane get some offense, but unfortunately that was not the case, and we get a 2 from that one. My enjoyment was overall a 1.5. I felt that this match was really fun for the just under 3 minutes that it ended up being. Unfortunately, if this match had more substance, I would have cared more. I liked it, but it wasn't gonna, drive me forward to say that was a really good match. I mean, it's 1-star quality, and based on what I'm gonna say later, it's the worst match of the evening. Yeah, the Divas match actually beat out this one, but again, it was the length that killed it for me. I could have had it go maybe 4 minutes longer to allow the New Age Outlaws to try and get something in there, to allow Kane to try and hit a tombstone, allow it to be more balanced. If there was some good momentum shifts in there, I could have given it more. But, it was just a quick match off the 25-minute slugfest that came before it. So I can understand what it needed to do psychologically, and just overall what it did as a match. I can understand what it did, how it was done properly to reflect that, etc., etc., etc. Now, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royale. Yeah. Psychology was actually bigger than I thought for this. It was a 2. Now, I don't understand how a battle royal full of people could really highlight itself in a psychology department. Well, it's mostly because of the overbearing feeling throughout this match that Big Show is going to win this thing. And the fact that he doesn't just is the jewel on the crown, because it is a young guy like Cesaro who does the job immensely. And you can't go wrong with that. You really can't. Because that just shows it, that Big Show was going to win. He dominated, he chucked out more people than anyone else. And to then lose to a bloody scoop slam by this Swiss Superman highlights itself. You know, it was all about Big Show. Every single elimination that was major, that was focused on by the camera crew, by the crowd at the Superdome, was done by the Big Show. So it gave itself an immense amount of story that, yeah, these lighter guys, some of these guys like Kofi and Dolph, managed to last all the way. Seeing Cody and Kofi whack each other on the hanging from the ropes. Seeing Fandango completely act like a douchebag upon eliminating Big E Langston. To see Kofi save his own ass. I mean, it worked out good. And not to mention the fact they got rid of all the jobbers quickly, so all of the biggish names could last a good amount of time in there. Which is all well and good. It showed that these younger guys who are smaller actually did have a chance. I mean, Tyson Kidd and Justin Gabriel lasted ages in there, which is fantastic. I just hope they get pushed sometime, that's all I'm saying. I mean, overall, there was no real body selling, and I have to admit, seeing Fandango get beaten in the chest countless times to be eliminated by Sheamus was one of the funniest moments of the damn night, but overall, it was a fun little match in that regard. I mean, sure, I would have liked more body selling, but this is a Battle Royal. It doesn't focus on that. This isn't conforming to my Royal Rumble set of review criteria, where I have its own special little criterion. No, this is all really just about how the story was told, and for the fact that Big Show was going to be the winner up until the last part is enough for me. Move variety was a 1.5. You know, nothing really did anything, you know. I just thought that, okay, seeing Kofi stay in was brilliant. Seeing Cesaro hit that massive scoop slam was incredible, and the crowd popped for it. Overall, though, there was nothing really special. Crowd reaction was a 2.5. Now, these guys were quite quiet. The crowd were quite silent. And you know what? I was, because at the time, I was getting my food after not eating most of the day. So watching this back live, I didn't know how the crowd was really reacting. I think they were just a bit silent after the crowd just went a bit lulling, because everyone was just getting thrown out with no real meaning, no real purpose. The crowd didn't really care. Fandango eliminating Big E Langston and acting like a complete twat woke the entire crowd up, because they were doing his da-da, da-da-da-da, and they were just loving it. And then, well, of course, Sheamus eliminated him and got booed the crap out of him, so yeah, all's well and good there. Kofi keeping himself in made them go completely mental, and then that was completely usurped by Cesaro's winner. Seriously, the crowd marked out huge. I think we all did at the time, but honestly, it was a really good reaction, and by the end, the crowd kind of redeemed themselves for a 13-minute contest. Speaking of which, the match length and pacing was a 2. You know, overall, it was quick, then slowed, and then picked up towards the end when those last few eliminations needed picking off. And honestly though, the pacing of this match is actually in a way what does it in. You know, it's even more annoying when you look at the fact that Big Show and Sheamus, the two apparent favourites, got entrances. No one else got entrances. And you know, if this had maybe added an extra minute or two on to the match, it would have allowed everyone to get a bloody entrance so you cared more. But unfortunately that did not happen. But overall, the 13.5-minute match, with actually got a lot of stuff involved, was actually quite good. I mean, the pacing worked out well. Loads of people get eliminated first. It worked. They got such fast, flurried, crazy activity, and then bam, it hit its stride right when there were around 9 or so people left in there. So yeah, I mean, overall, it did its purpose, and my enjoyment was a 2. You know, I found it to be a good match, but only when most of the crap had been cut. You know, most of the lower people had been cut. That was only when I really started to think, okay, this is actually not a bad match. I quite enjoyed it. It wasn't that good, but it gave me a lot of good things to smile about. Especially, I have to keep repeating it, Cesaro's ending move was amazing. That guy is so strong, and seeing what he's doing now with Paul Heyman months later, he's going somewhere, guys. He's going somewhere. And you know, this match was a middle-of-the-road, nearly middle-of-the-road average match that was neither good nor that bad, but it needed a little more just to cut. If it had those damn entrances at the beginning, if it was able to tell more of a story from other competitors, then I would have been fine. Hell, if Bad News Barrett was included like he was advertised to, I would have been even more happier with it. Because, you know, a bull hammer off the top rope for Rey Mysterio, or a bull hammer on the ropes, maybe eliminating Sheamus as well as a Fandango at that point. You know, it could have added more spice. And then again, this match did technically break its own rule by having 31 people with the insertion of Cesaro at the last minute. So, yeah, that was a bit of a shocker. Anyway, I'm going to give this a 2-star for this. It's overall a decent match. Can't go wrong with it on that front. Now, we have Cena versus Wyatt, and people are going to be saying, oh, just because Cena won, it's awful. I agree that John Cena winning here was the bad thing. That does not take away from the fact that this was the best match of their feud, and it was a fantastic one. The psychology, a 4.5. Think about it. We knew watching this live that Cena was displaying such good psychology. His facial reactions, his aggressiveness, his desire to beat the holy living crap out of Bray was brilliant. The resistance of the steel steps, the resistance of the steel chair, all egged on by Wyatt's ability to get inside Cena's head. The commentators summing it up perfectly. King saying this line, that Bray cares more about getting into Cena's head than winning the match. People have been saying that is what Bray is all about. Getting inside your head and telling the story, and therefore for him, winning is inconsequential. He wants to break you. He doesn't care about the win or loss. And to be honest with you, looking on it now, we shouldn't really care either, because that's the one thing I like about Bray's character. Even though we want him to win, he can still come back fighting and look strong as hell because of that psychological element. And, well, this is the crowning jewel of the entire match. The counter of the 5-knuckle shuffle into the spider walk. That live was amazing. Seeing it back when you know it's coming, go, okay, still funny just to see Cena's face. So fun to see Cena's face, just shocked out of his mind. And yes, seeing Bray Wyatt nearly get the win, I would have said, come on, get the bloody win. But of course, Cena's win kind of removes the psychology element a little bit. And, well, not just that, you know, I would have really liked a little bit of body selling, but not really much of that was done, and that would have given it a 5 if there was a bit of body work just to highlight that, yeah, I'm going to take a weak point out of you on your body first, so I can beat you in body and mind. You know, that would have made sense. Well, good. Move variety, 1.5. Now, there was a couple that I really liked from this. I mean, there's only like 2-3 moves out of here. They got the top rope leg drop counted into a powerbomb. You have the apron DDT. You have Cena jumping onto Harper and Rowan. You then also have Harper going through the barricade. I mean, overall, there wasn't too much here that really made me go, oh, good God. But Cena jumping off the turnbuckle, instead of going on to Bryan with a leg drop, was quite awesome. Cannot deny, it was unexpected. We didn't see it coming. Crowd reaction, 4.5. Yeah. This crowd reaction, minus the ending, was quite crazy. You know, the Daniel Bryan match, they gave it respect. Not here. They were all over the place, chanting, let's go Wyatt, let's go Cena. They were doing the, fuck it. He's got the whole world in his hands. And, the crowd just didn't stop. They were going on and on and on and, this is the kind of dynamic that only a Cena match can give against a well-supported opponent. Against a well-supported opponent, against John Cena, that crowd are going to go batshit. And they bloody did. They were loving every single minute, but the ending was just anticlimactic for them, and it just sucked them dry. I mean, sure, there were some rest hold moments where they didn't do much, but it was a rarity. But the ending, the reaction was kind of big, but it wasn't what I was expecting. You know, because if Bray had won, they would have gone into mass hysteria. And that's just pretty much where it lies from there. Match length and pacing, 4.5. This went 22 minutes. 22 minutes, for God's sake. I mean, it was, again, this pay-per-view was paced so perfectly compared to last year when they ran out of timing constraints, obviously. You had obviously that slow, ominous start of Bray just telling him to turn into the monster. You then had that flurry of aggressiveness, which slowly picked up from Cena over the match as it went on. It got more faster, more aggressive as Bray then took hold. It slowed down to then allow the crowd to regain their steam before going completely mental again. I mean, that's the one thing about good, well-paced matches that I love, is that you can either start off fast, slow down in the middle, and then pick up at the end, which is the typical wrestling formula. This, along with a few matches in this pay-per-view, started off really slow, picked up, gone to high octane, slowly faltered down again, and then had a big blow-off. This is exactly what keeps the crowd intrigued. They're interested to see the first few punches hit, action then ensues, then you see this rest time where they both have to try and bring up the drama more. You then see what happened at the end, and there you go. I mean, the match length, it was shorter, but overall it really packed a lot into the time frame, and the pacing really helped. It went from slow mat work to furious brawling to violence on the outside to flurries of false finishes really quite fast in the time that it was in, and it didn't feel very long at all, which was great. I mean, it felt quite long watching it live because you're kind of going, come on Bray, win this damn thing. And then of course he didn't, which made it even weirder when you then watch it live and you go, you know what's coming, but you can then take that little factor out of your mind and just watch it for the match it is, and it works. And my enjoyment was a 4.5. You know, if it wasn't for the ending of John Cena winning, it would have been the perfect 5. It would have been, I would have given this more than the rating I would have gotten. It would have gotten up to maybe a 4.5, 4 3/4 star match, which would have made this pay-per-view go even higher than it already is. And you know, if it wasn't for that, it would have been there. And you know, this match is still a brilliant match. It's 4 1/4 star worthy. You may not think so just because John Cena won, it takes 1 whole star off. No, this match had a lot of substance. This match had a shit ton of substance. And you know what? It works. This match had substance to back it up. Sure, the loss was anticlimactic and really didn't fit it, but when you remembered what the result of the next match was, it actually makes sense. So, I'm going to put my hand up here. 4 1/4 star. If it wasn't for the ending, it could have gotten 4.5, which would have been amazing. Now, we get to the match that ended the streak. Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar. Now, you may be saying to me, how can I give this match a 4 in the psychology department? Because there wasn't that much body selling well, there was a bit, but this match mostly came from the way it was presented. From the moment the music of the build-up package came through, before the build-up package, before Heyman even started speaking, but when you had Heyman speaking himself, Lesnar ominously walking into the ring, with the commentators hyping him up to hell and back. You then have Taker coming down there silent, different from the usual. The open casket, the entirety, before the bell had even rung, I was thinking to myself, wow, they have actually already booked this. The streak is going to end. I can sense it. I can feel, because obviously I already know it's ended, but you look at it. Just take a look at that match again. Look at everything. From the moment the match's little card comes up, then the promo, then the entrances, you can tell this match is going to end with the streak broken. You can tell. And then you see it when the match happens. The idea of this match, okay, no matter if he gets a concussion or not, the match's main build was that Brock Lesnar is stronger than The Undertaker. And I know a lot of people saying, well, the mysticalness of WrestleMania means that Taker is unbeatable. Well, hold on a second. In the build-up, people saying, oh, Brock Lesnar didn't get any offense till the last week. How can this make sense? It makes sense because in a talking environment, Lesnar's at his weakest. He obviously has to battle with this mystical power that The Undertaker has and all this, that he can play with the mind games. However, outside of the mind games, in the actual match itself, when it's physical blow for blow, Lesnar is much stronger. Lesnar is bigger. Well, muscle, he's much better in this environment. And they built that up to say to people, look, this is happening. This guy in a match environment can beat the crap out of anyone. If he can win legitimately in UFC, he can do it here. And that's what makes the story so good, because we've never seen Taker so weak before. He had his leg targeted, Lesnar had his arm targeted throughout this match. They didn't sell it at various points, but I liked that Lesnar did at the end of the match, holding that shoulder. And you know, it was a very, very psychologically rich match. Heyman said nothing. The commentators were ominous. They were slow speaking, they were lower tone. And this isn't something I didn't experience while there. You know, when I was there without all of this in my head, it didn't really make sense. You know, we were saying, oh, Taker had his WrestleMania defeat in that. It was a slow, methodical match, while live in person, it didn't play off very well because of that. With all these factors in my mind, the pace of it made sense. That it was slow, that it was methodical, because it was a beating. It was a beating. And that's probably one of the reasons why I've missed out on a lot of other Lesnar's matches in the past, especially the one with Triple H at WrestleMania 29, where I thought that was slow and methodical to try and just be that way because the crowd were dead. It was more the fact that it was just trying to do it to show that Lesnar can deal more damage with a few physical blows and moves than other people can do with full arsenals. And it made so much more sense when looking at this match, and it made a difference. Because Taker, if he had a concussion or not, I can understand that. It was an obvious problem. But the one thing I also loved about it is that Taker could still have fight in him, but it was a struggle. You know, and why am I not giving this a 5? Quite simple. Taker, his concussion basically ruined what would have been the flow of it all if it was him not knowing what was going on. And overall, you know, this match needed more bodywork. It probably needed a bit of blood to highlight the dominance, maybe. It needed a little bit extra for me. But overall, the story is amplified when watching it on DVD. The story is bigger on DVD than it ever got live. And that's the one thing I love about this, is that this match, through that, was made to look so much better. So much better than it was. And that's fantastic. Move variety. 1. Simple. Nothing I have not seen before by these guys, but I've got to admit, the reversal of the Kimura by Taker into one of his own was beautiful. Crowd reaction, a 2.5. Now, this is where the crux of this match happens. As the commentators mentioned, there was a feeling of dread. There wasn't really a feeling of dread, but it was more just a feeling of, wow, this is a Taker match? We've expected more. We've expected fantastic matches, and the crowd were obviously not really happy with that. And of course, of me, I'm looking at this match thinking, this is the slowest of slow burners that I have ever seen. Because the crowd don't really have that much interest. Then it picks up, then it dies again. Then it really picks up, and then it's gone. 100% gone. Because the crowd, at the end, are shocked. And then you can hear this, ah, in the crowd upon seeing that 21-1 in the screens. And then it dies down. Then the announcement of Brock Lesnar being the winner happens, and they then pick up and start booing. And I have to admit, when Taker's in the ring on his own, it's a slow round of applause. It takes time to build, because, like his career, it did the exact same. And honestly, that arsehole who said, boo, you suck, boo, who can be heard audibly on the camera, you're an arsehole. I mean, honestly, throughout the match, the crowd did impact it. I mean, hell, live, it really impacted it, because I couldn't focus on the match at most points. I couldn't pick up the story that I'm actually seeing on the DVD. So, it really played into a problem area there. But the crowd reaction really helped, because it really made us all look and say, wow, Taker is having his ass kicked. And the one thing also on the psychology front that really makes this interesting, when you look at how the crowd reaction are going, he's faced, since WrestleMania 25, he's wrestled 2 older guys who are around the same age as he is. He's wrestled a younger guy who is smaller. When you're facing a guy like Lesnar, who you know is a physical beast, to see him beat down a man taller than him is just ridiculous, and the crowd just couldn't believe it. But that subdued atmosphere played into the psychology, but as an overall experience was a dampener on it, and it really didn't help it. Match length and pacing. I've already said that the pacing of this match was actually perfect. The length, however, was for me the crux. I know it tried to build this long story that Taker could fight back, but it just wasn't enough. I understand that. But it really, at nearly 25 minutes, at just over 25 minutes, and 10 seconds roughly, it really was way too long. I mean, if there was more excitement in there, maybe it would have justified its length. But that was the only reason. It played into the story, but that was not all I need. I need more than that. And 3 out of 5 is what I'm going to give it. My overall enjoyment was a 3. You know, still, watching this back is one of the most shocking and one of the most just emotional things. Even when watching it back, I still felt a stake go through my heart. I still felt blown away. I still felt amazed. But with that extra story elements that I picked up in there, it just felt ever more there, ever more prevalent. That I was thinking that this is actually a way better match than it was. And a lot of people were saying it's poor, it's sloppy. When you factor the story in, it makes a whole lot of difference. When you factor in all those elements, it makes sense. And this match, no matter how many people say it was appalling, I will say to you, that story that I picked up upon TV watching, which you're going to have to pick up on a repeated view, highlights it all perfectly. It makes this match quite enthralling to watch. And because of that, I have to give it a higher rating than most people would give it. I'm giving it a 3-star rating. It was better than I thought. It was way better than I remember it being 2 months prior. And it was great. I cannot deny you, it's not the best Taker match I have ever seen. It's not the best Taker match at Mania I have ever seen. But once again, the Taker match isn't all about the physical encountering, it's about the story of breaking that damn streak. And it was broken by a guy who, honestly, the only person who could have done it. Because, like I've said, he's a guy who is roughly the same muscular size, but he's stronger, he's younger, he's more ferocious, and in a match environment, he would always win. So, overall, the psychology wins this one a 3-star rating. The rest of it add up to it as well, but if that move variety was a bit more, that would have been a lot better. The Vickie Guerrero Divas Invitational. Psychology, 1.5. Now, I would have liked it if Vickie Guerrero actually got involved, instead of standing on that feckin' podium. But honestly, there was only a couple of bits of psychology. Tamina and AJ being in the middle of the ring, getting completely trounced at the beginning, seeing the Bella Twins fight off. I mean, WWE were hoping that the Total Divas would get the reaction they needed. They did not, and that's a bit sad. But it did add a little bit of extra layering, and I thought, you know what, this is actually not bad. But there's a little bit of story element there. I mean, sure, the Bella Twins didn't split afterwards and have any repercussions that I could see, so that's a bad thing. However, I would like to say it added a little bit extra. Move variety, a 2. Now, I did say when I saw this live that while the crowd were not into this in the slightest, there was some good action in here, and boy was I right looking back. You had 4 suplexes happening at once, resulting in multiple pinfalls, which was a lovely area. You had Emma giving a tarantula. There was a jawbreaker dropkick combo by the Bellas, as well as a double suicide dive. Not just that, you had a top rope superplex powerbomb combo. That's a fantastic array of moves from a Divas match, and it would never have happened if it was just a one-on-one match between AJ and Tamina. You know, that would have been a very physical match, it would have been a reasonably good one, but it wouldn't have had that amount of craziness in it. And that just really made it more exciting to watch. You know, I was amazed seeing this live, but people just didn't give 2 craps. And seeing it back, it makes me think, wow, the Divas knew they had to do something, so bring out the big power moves. Good on you. Now, I've already mentioned, the crowd reaction was a solid 1. They didn't give 2 fucks about this, and it's understandable. Match length and pacing, 1.5. This match was only about 7 minutes long. 6 minutes long, 7 minutes long, and it was reasonably quick. There was no real respite, and it showed. You know, it was fast, it was just trying to get the crowd to do something prior to the main event. That's all it was, and I can't fault them for it. 1.5 there. And my enjoyment matches, 1.5, this match was a lot better than I remember it being, mostly because I could actually check out the bloody action that was going on in there. And, if I focus myself away from the crowd, this wasn't that bad. But it's not very good. And, I honestly have to say to myself, people are giving this zeros and halves. I'm thinking, there's a little bit more to this than you're thinking. And overall, it gets a 1 star from me. It is the move variety. It is the move variety and the move variety alone that pushed it into the 1-star territory, and actually, the length also helped it above the Shield New Age Outlaws match, because there was momentum shifts. There were wrestlers having to fight in and out of it and get their footing back in the match. And I like that. So there you go. Overall, a 1-star match, confirming, in a bit of a spoiler here, that this match and this pay-per-view proves there are no zeros here. Which technically means, based on my calculations, this is going to end up bigger than WrestleMania XXX. You know why? Because that one had a big, fat 0 in it. 2 of them, if you want to be lucky. Finally, we reach the main event. Orton, Bryan, and Batista. Psychology, a 4.5. Now, why this wasn't so big? I'm going to have to try and figure it out myself. Why it isn't a 5? Who knows? And honestly, because of that working on the arm was done quickly, straight away, it made its impact. Sure, later on when Bryan had to keep fighting back, he still got whacked and battered. But the thing that makes this match work on so many levels for the psychology, not as much as the opener, but the good thing, Triple H and Stephanie came out with that sledgehammer, ready to beat down Bryan, and they did. Batista bomb, hit with a Scott Armstrong interference. Who the hell saw that coming? Daniel Bryan whacking Triple H in the face, going, you know what, you're not ruining this for me. Hit him with a damn sledgehammer, and then hit a suicide dive on the Authority. And the referee, mind you. So, yeah, I mean, overall, even then, you have the Batista-Orton teaming up, which I thought at the time, just thinking, okay, they're actually going to do this? Holy crap. The idea of Batista wanting a one-on-one match. He gets it with that amazing powerbomb neckbreaker combo through the damn table. I mean, it was just the stretcher job. This match, the only thing it was really missing was a little bit of blood. And I could have expected that from a sledgehammer to the face. I really could have. I would have really liked to have had Daniel Bryan really sell that arm on the finish, because that was really annoying. I mean, sure, the adrenaline probably pushed it through, like in the first match, but he's just been through 2 grueling encounters where his arm has been pretty much the focal point for the entire damn thing, so I could have seen a bit of realism at the end there, with Daniel Bryan not being able to hold up one of the championships, but that isn't the case, and we lose a little bit of a point there. Move variety was a 1.5. Yeah, 1.5. Capture suplex by Orton, powerbomb neckbreaker through the table, I've already mentioned, and Hangman DDT on the floor were the ones there for that one. 4.5 for the crowd. Now, this was mostly because during the break when Bryan was down, they were sure chanting Daniel Bryan when he's being wheeled off on the stretcher, but overall, they really were quiet when Batista really had offense there, and that let the crowd down a bit. That was the only point, minus a small bit at the start, when they were still trying to recoup themselves from the Undertaker match. They obviously were trying to really get back into it, and of course, the psychology of the extra story elements from the interferences really helped get them back, and it really proved effective. And overall, if it wasn't for that lull and downtime when Batista and Orton were beating the crap out of each other, this would have probably gotten more, because by the end of the match, they were completely off their faces happy. And that's what's brilliant. It managed to regain the crowd, and that's fantastic. Match length and pacing, 3.5. It started off brilliantly. Daniel Bryan going for a knee and a punch right in, I believe, Randy Orton's face. And overall, it slowed down when Batista and Orton got their place, and honestly, it fit perfectly in the fact that it got quicker as it went on, slowed down, quickened again, like I said, just like how most of these matches should be. And the problem I have with this is the length. This went about 23 minutes roughly. If there was more time, if Taker hadn't spent ages getting out of the ring, and maybe I would say, well, the major entrances of the Wyatts, and if Orton didn't have his bloody entrance with the Rev Theory, this match would have gone on an extra 3-4 minutes that really could have added that extra bit of climax. Now I know the climax of the match was great, but to me it felt faster than it should have done. It felt rushed, and I really would have liked off an RKO to have Daniel Bryan kick out, well, not a RKO, but a Batista bomb. He kicks out of it, rolls over with his last bit of adrenaline, locks in that yes lock, probably with only one hand, with maybe alternating to maybe be a bit ambidextrous on that front, and it then made the ending feel so good. Also, almost like when, effectively, Benoit won it. When he had to obviously try and keep that crossface on Triple H. Triple H almost got to the ropes and then rolling it out. It felt completely natural because it slowed itself. It wasn't really quick. And that's the one problem. The quickness of the ending really hurts this for me. And that's annoying. My enjoyment was a 4. You know, this was a great main event. It wasn't as good as the opener by any stretch. It wasn't as good as the Wyatt Cena match, but it did what it needed to do. It got the crowd back on their feet, it got Bryan as champion, and also, not to mention, it ended on a fantastic note. It's not as good as the best triple threat match in Mania history, which you know what that is. It's the main event from 10 years prior. But overall, you know, this is still a very good match. And you know what? 4-star. It was a fun, intense main event because you were always just dreading, would it happen, would it not happen? And live, we were thinking the same, and it did. So, there we go. 4-star. And now, guys, off that draining look through, here are my final thoughts. Now, obviously for me, this WrestleMania live got a 10 out of 10. But as you can obviously tell by this ratings, by these reviews, that this WrestleMania held up superbly well on television. In fact, in some cases, it amplified itself on television. And honestly, the matches, the big-time matches delivered. Even the smaller ones didn't. Hell, I haven't even mentioned the pre-show match, which if I ever did review pre-show matches as part of my reviews, that would have probably given this an even higher rating, because that was probably a 3 3/4 star, 3.5 star match on its own. And that went 16 bloody minutes. So you can see there that this pay-per-view was a lot better than last year's. Last year's WrestleMania got a 3.5 out of me, mostly because it was anticlimactic. And I can thank not just the results for that, but the open stadium for it. Because the one thing I love about domed arenas, like the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, is that it contains all the damn noise. And you can tell it is a good thing. And honestly, the quality of these matches shined. The pacing for most of them was perfect. You had the psychology, the story, brimming from these. It wasn't all just spots and intense ways of getting the crowd going. They cared about the stories that went into a lot of these matches, and it showed. It made these matches look fantastic. And sure, that's one of the things that makes a good wrestling match. You can't just focus on the moves. The story is what matters. And this pay-per-view is one of the best pay-per-views for storytelling and psychology that I have ever seen. And even though watching it live, I could even tell that was the case. And you know, this pay-per-view is not perfect. I'm not going to kid myself. There is 2 1-star matches on here and a 2-star match. Then you got a 3-star, and then the rest of it is 2, 4, 4.25, and then a solid 5 at the start. So, overall, this pay-per-view, based on the fact that there are no zeros and no quarters or whatever it's not even close. This WrestleMania is up there with WrestleMania 19 as the best WrestleMania I have ever seen. And that says a lot. I mean, sure, I saw it live, which means it's a little bit biased. But I look at it from an outside of a live perspective. I look at it from a television, DVD, network presented perspective, and it is an incredible event. It is up there with one of the best shows, and actually, fuck it, in terms of my ratings, it's in the top 5 favourites of all time for me. It's not up there with SummerSlam 2002, because I had to redo the ratings for that one, and give it a near 10 out of 10 there. In the case of this, when you have no zeros on the card, you have an entertaining opening segment, which I haven't mentioned, you have a great backstage segment involving legends, you have the Hall of Fame segment, you have just so much good in here, that if it wasn't for the small matches that got 1 stars and the Battle Royal getting only 2, if those had even more, this would have been even higher. But with a 4.25, a 4, and a 5 in there, along with an unexpected 3 from the Taker match that everyone hated, it says a lot. This pay-per-view is brilliant. It is fantastic. And for me, it is in my top 5. It is in my top 5, and I have to review WrestleMania 19 very soon, because I want to see if it can match. WrestleMania XXX managed to get a 9.25 out of 10. This is getting a 9.5. 9.5 out of 10, pay-per-view of the year without a shadow of a doubt. This WrestleMania is probably the best I have seen in a hell of a long time. Hell, since 19. And that says it. It's going to be a straight-up battle between the two, and I'm going to have to watch 19 eventually. But this WrestleMania is probably, and is, the best WrestleMania that I have seen since being a wrestling fan. I didn't watch WrestleMania 19 live, mind you, on TV or in person, so I can't really say that in there. But with this pay-per-view is the shit. It is the creme de la creme. It is what a WrestleMania should be. It is story-driven, intense, dramatic, emotional, and it crowns the entire year you have just experienced off with the shiniest, greatest cherry that you can. And boy, oh boy, was it fun to watch it all over again. Should I make it a yearly tradition? Who bloody knows? All I know was this was a great experience live, this was a great experience on TV, on DVD, and overall, it is going to be ranked up there forever by me and probably a load of other people as one of the best WrestleManias. And guys, that is it. I hope you have enjoyed this. And I want to know what you guys thought, because of course I haven't heard what some of you thought about WrestleMania. What do you think? Do you think I'm spewing overreactive bile? Am I going overboard with this? Say what you want to say. Put it in the comment section down below. I'd be great to hear it. And, of course, follow me on Twitter at CreamCrazy for any more announcements, because if that big news is anything to go by, you would want to stick to my Twitter to hear all about it. Plus, don't forget, the World Cup starts today, so, well, on the day I'm recording this, which is the Thursday, so, yay, all's well and good. So, everyone can be happy on that front. And you know what, guys? I'm going to be next with you for that big news. So, the next time you see me, change is going to happen. Big news is going to go down. And you know what? I'm looking forward to seeing your reaction to that. Guys, I have been Cream Crazy. You have been people listening. This has been my WrestleMania 30 review. And I will see you on June the 22nd for the big news reveal. And I'd like to lastly thank WWE and thank New Orleans for the entire trip, because I didn't get the chance to do this. After the Ultimate Warrior's death and everything left the entire trip on a bit of a bummer note, I can now say to New Orleans, it is a fantastic city. You were amazing when I was there. It treated me fantastically well, and I want to thank you. For the guys at WWE, you gave me a fantastic experience that I'm never going to forget. And honestly, I said it, I'm going to say it again. If you get the chance, go to a WrestleMania. You will never, ever regret it. Cheers, guys. See you all next time.